short meditation. So because today's topic on wisdom, so we're going to meditate around this theme. So we start off with visualizing, visualizing the hairs, all the hairs of the body from head to toe. You need to imagine like looking at the mirror of yourself, head to toe, all the hairs. So visualizing the hairs itself, no Dhamma value. Any hairstylist also can visualize the hair. So we need to apply the Noble Eightfold Path. Because once we start to imagine the hairs, if it look very beautiful, you like it, there's a tendency we react with greed. I like my hair, I want it to be nice and beautiful. And if let's say you visualize the hairs, you find it ugly or you don't like the fashion, then you might react with aversion, anger. I don't like it. So the mind always falls to the extremes. So how to go to the middle way? We need to intentionally first wish it well and happy. So this is to reduce aversion. So once you conjure an image of the hair, then you need to intentionally wish it well and happy. And once you finish the sentence, you need to quickly move on to a new patch of hair and then wish it well and happy. Because if you stop only, then the mind will come up with all the AI-generated dramas, or better than AI-generated dramas. So we must keep on repeating. So this repetition, we call it right effort. The wishing it well and happy is part of right thought. And the visualization of the hairs is part of mindfulness of the body. And the key indicator is to see whether the mind gets calmer or more agitated, more stressed. If it gets calmer, means you're on the right track, you are reducing certain craving. If it gets more stressful, that means something is wrong somewhere. And your challenge is to see how far can the mind settle down. So there should be a point where the mind settles down to its maximum limit. You cannot settle any further, or the rate of settling is very negligible. So this would be the samatha phase of this meditation, the calming phase of the meditation. And once you are kind of emotionally neutral, then that would be the minimum requirement for wisdom and insight. No levels of concentration yet, it's just a neutral state. So we are now going to think of all these hairs. They go through birth, aging, sickness, and death. So this time you can fast forward the aging process. And as you think of these hairs growing and falling, Then this time you can recite in the mind, it's like chanting, birth, aging, sickness, and death. So this is your mantra, birth, aging, sickness, death. Just hairs growing and falling will do. I don't have to over imagine. You have to think of what brand of shampoo you use, all those. And if let's say you do it correctly, the conditions are right, there is real detachment taking place. For a brief moment, there should be some kind of joy appearing. It's a sign of detachment. Not that you enjoy looking at decayed hair, but it's a sign of letting go. Huh? So there's this one monk in the Buddha's time, Venerable Sivali. He got enlightened just by reflecting on the impermanence of the hairs. So right before his ordination, during the head shaving, Venerable Sariputta asked him to think of impermanence of the hair. So at the end of the head shaving ceremony, he got enlightened. So this insight process has no limit, no calming limit. The more you do, the more you detach, then the further you can reach your goal. Okay, so this is just for visualization. So now we are changing to another sense contact, feeling of bodily sensations. So you feel the body sensation, their aches and pains, tension, all those. So we classify them as the four elements. So the earth element represents any hard and soft sensations. And the fire element represents the temperature, hot and cold. Wind element represents any movement. And the water element represents any moist or dry sensations. So the same thing, we are this time don't need to visualize anything. Now this time everything is real-time evidence. Whenever any sensation appear, yeah, we are going to wish it well and happy. So the same ingredient, right effort. Anytime sensation appear, wish it well and happy. So you'll see a very similar pattern, the calming process, very similar, because we are not training the elements, we are not training the hairs, we're actually first calming the 5 aggregates and the cognitive functions of the mind. And once you think the mind is relatively calm, then we can think of impermanence. Now this is the wisdom or insight portion. So we're going to observe the changes in the sensations and we're going to label it as rising and passing. Anytime you detect any change, you just recite rising and passing. Okay, so we can be mindful of this impermanence in all your activities, whether you're standing, sitting, walking, or lying down. Huh? And with that, we can gently open our eyes, formally end the session, informally think of impermanence. So for those who are here, you can do a bit of stretching while waiting for the others to enter. Okay, all right, so I guess that's about it. So we can start. Huh? Okay, so this is the topic for today. How to get more wisdom. Who think you need more wisdom one? Okay, then the right topic for you guys. Okay, so I shall ask further. What is wisdom? Anybody know? Nobody. So what you want to get? You don't even know what you're getting. Okay, so the Pali word for wisdom is Panna. Panna. So the N, if you want to look at the Romanized kind of spelling, the N has the curvy line on top. Yeah, Panna. So this Panna has the mundane aspect and the supramundane aspect. So the mundane or the secular kind of wisdom would be your intelligence, how clever you are, how streetwise or how street smart you are, what kind of right decisions to make. And all these are part of mundane wisdom. Mundane wisdom. And on the other hand, we have the transcendental or the spiritual kind of wisdom. So earlier on, we did the meditation. It's somewhat towards there. When we think of impermanence, when there's detachment, then it's geared towards the spiritual wisdom, supramundane wisdom. So a person can be very clever, full of mundane panya, mundane intellect, but no spiritual wisdom, no supramundane wisdom. They can do all the morally wrong things. For example, a scientist create a weapon of mass destruction. Weapon of mass destruction. Do you think it's wise or not? No, yeah, very clever, right? You can come up with all the formula and come up with the equation with all these weapon, but morally, ethically may not be right. May not be right. So that is the issue. And vice versa. A person can be very wise, very wise. They can detach, but never study, never go through education. So they cannot give Dhamma talk. So there's a lot of cases in the Buddha's time, a lot of enlightened disciples unable to give talk. It's not like you invite monks down here can give 1 or 2 hour talk. No, Buddha's time, the monks sometimes don't know how to give talk. Man. Like Venerable Sariputta, he met his first teacher, Venerable Asaji, the first 5 disciples of the Buddha, Venerable Asaji, enlightened monk. So that time, Sariputta is still not yet ordained. So he looked for this Asaji and asked him, can you teach me something to help me understand your teaching? Then this Asaji very humble, very shy. I cannot teach like what the Buddha teach. So he said, please go and see the Buddha. But then Venerable Sariputta said, please, say something. You want to have like a overview of the teaching. So he gave a very brief, a short sentence only, talk about phenomena rising and passing. And then this Venerable Sariputta became a stream enterer straight away, just by hearing one sentence. So no lengthy Dhamma talk last time. No lengthy Dhamma talk. A very short sentence. Maybe the Buddha give lengthy Dhamma talk. But most of the monks, if they never fully learn the doctrines or never hear enough of the Buddha's sermon, they won't dare to say additional thing. They just say, okay, I just know a bit, I share a bit, and that's it. So there's a difference between mundane wisdom and supramundane wisdom. So today we are targeting more on the supramundane wisdom. Okay. So according to the sutta's definition, if you want to have wisdom, or the definition of wisdom is to see impermanence, discern arising and passing away. And then you can discern 4 things. I think these 4 things not Fantastic Four, it's the 4 Noble Truths. So in Buddhism, we have the 4 Noble Truths. Who have not seen this before? 4 Noble Truths. Okay, so for those who are new, no worries. I also just need to clarify for those who have heard before. It's actually a troubleshooting mechanism. Troubleshooting mechanism. So the first Noble Truth talks about there is suffering or stress. So earlier on when we did the meditation, if you sit too long, there will be suffering, right? Pain here, pain there, pain. So the Buddha said there are 8 types of suffering. Birth, aging, sickness, death, separation from loved one, associating with people you don't like, not getting what you want. So there's physical suffering, there's mental suffering. And then the last one, the 5 clinging aggregates, they are suffering. So whatever you experience in life, you need to make use of this equipment, these 5 aggregates. So these 5 aggregates is not your PSLE aggregates. It's your components, 5 components to perceive the world. So these are your form, feeling, perception, mental formation, consciousness, 5 things. Basically our mental cognitive function. So today I won't talk too much on that due to time limitation, but just briefly, these are the 5 aggregates. Basically, wherever you land your attention, you'll naturally cling to it. You cling to that object. You develop craving. So that's the second noble truth, the cause of suffering. Wherever you place the object, let's say you look at the screen here, you may like the design, you may not like the design. If let's say you like the colors, then you probably develop greed. So that's one type of craving. If you don't like the colors, you don't like the design, then you develop aversion. So that's another kind of craving. So the mind is always constantly pulling and pushing, pulling and pushing. No peace. Can be anything, doesn't have to be the design. Can be your feelings. Sit down, comfortable feeling, you have greed afterwards. Painful feeling, then you have aversion, you want to push it away. So the mind is always in the kind of polarity, always pulling and pushing, pulling and pushing. So cannot find peace. So the third noble truth talks about you can actually solve the problem. So the Buddha is not a pessimistic person. He never go around and say, okay, suffering, suffering, and that's it, full stop. There's a solution. So he provides the solution, which is the fourth noble truth. There is a path, and the truth of the path leading to the end of suffering. And this path is not one path, it's many factors. We call this a Noble Eightfold Path. So the fourth noble truth equals to the Noble Eightfold Path. So you want to end suffering, you need to do 8 things. You need to do these 8 things. So the first one, if we look at the diagram, there are 2 ways to represent the Noble Eightfold Path in diagram. So normally, we can use the Dhamma wheel, the 8-spoked wheel represents the Eightfold Path, or sometimes people use like a stupa. So the stupa is like the syllabus of the Eightfold Path. So right at the top, you have the wisdom portion, which is our topic of interest today. So you need to first have some kind of right understanding and right thought. Right understanding means to know what you are looking for. Why do you come here? Why do you come here to listen to the talk? Why do you come and meditate? Why do you come to a religious place of worship? If your understanding is to, okay, I just make a wish to get what I want and everything will come true, then maybe that won't be the right understanding. So if your intention is to solve the craving problem and find contentment, then yes, probably that will be closer to the right understanding. And so right understanding is equals to the Four Noble Truths. If you are able to understand the root cause of the problem is the craving and not the things out there. Sometimes we're upset and then we say, this person make me upset, that thing make me upset, the weather make me upset. So you pointing outside, you see? You're not looking at the root cause of the problem. So if you want to solve the root cause of the problem, then yes, you can start learning the Dhamma. There are many ways to solve the problem externally. Let's say if you're not feeling well, then you see a doctor, then you can solve the problem. So that is externally, mundane ways of solving the problem. Or if you think you look old, you want to look younger, then you go buy certain product or do certain treatment, then you might look younger. Solve the aging problem. So that's the mundane ways of solving a problem. But if you want contentment, then you have to solve the craving problem. You have to solve the craving problem. So this is the understanding portion. And then we talk about right thoughts. So in the meditation, we think of 2 things earlier. So what's the first one you were thinking about? Loving kindness. Wish the parts of the body well and happy. Wherever your attention lands, you need to wish that object well and happy, to make peace with the object first. Then the second thought we think of is impermanence. Impermanence. This one is to reduce greed. So we tackle anger, we tackle greed. So sometimes people think, I just think of impermanence will do, don't think of loving kindness. So if your emotion is not stable enough, it's not neutral enough, you may not be ready to accept the truth. You think of our hair growing and falling, I must go and visit the Yunnan Hair Care Center, must go and do something about the hair. Then you have more worries. You cannot accept the truth of impermanence. So you need certain emotional neutrality. So we have loving kindness to reduce aversion. Then followed by impermanence to reduce greed. So that's the thought part. So in definition, thoughts of non-greed, non-anger, and thoughts of harmlessness, according to the sutta's definition, right thought. And we look at the bottom of the stupa, the foundation. You need to first have the moral aspect, right speech, right action, right livelihood. So finding peace is not about sitting here, meditate, and you can find peace. No. If you go outside and start to curse and swear, start to tell lies and do all kinds of nonsense, no peace. No peace. The attitude we use to handle the breath or handle any meditation object is the same behavior, the same attitude when we handle with people outside. The reaction, the behavior the same. When we handle our project, when we handle things, it's the same mental attitude. How we react with greed and anger towards the various things is the same habit. So the meditation portion is just like a safe space for you to work on this. But how you apply depends actually on every moment. It's not like when you sit, then you can have right thoughts. Once you stand up, cannot have right thoughts anymore. In fact, vice versa, it can be the same. If I sit down, I can be sleeping, I can be daydreaming, I can be worrying, I can be fantasizing. So sitting down and being quiet doesn't mean you are meditating. What's going on in the mind actually? So you can actually generate right thought every moment. Standing, sitting, walking, lying down. Whatever activity you're doing, you have the opportunity to generate right thought, or you have the conditions to generate right thought. Two choices. Either you generate right thought or generate wrong thought. Wrong thought means all the clinging. Okay, so when we are observing the moral behavior, we need to think first, before we act. Agree? So we are actually training the mind. We are training the mind. So before we start to habitually blurt out the wrong things or do the wrong things, then we remind ourselves, we got take precepts on. No. We have Buddhism, take precept. Or anybody that consciously want to train the mind also need to observe this moral behavior. Need to observe this moral behavior. So for the 5 precepts, I don't have to repeat. Those who came here this morning, you chanted the 5 precepts already. So we covered the action part, killing, stealing, sexual misconduct. Then the speech has 4. Speech has 4. So earlier on, you just chanted, refrain from telling lies. Then there's 3 more actually. Refrain from harsh speech or abusive speech, scolding people and stuff like that. Refrain from idle chatter, that means talking nonsense, anything under the sun that's not beneficial. And the 4th one, divisive speech. That means you go to one group of persons, somebody say something bad to you, then you go to the other group of persons and say, hey, this person say something bad about you. Split up groups, split up communities. So that's divisive speech. So we refrain from all this because we want to have peace of mind. Do you think that doing any of these things will give you peace of mind? After scolding people, you have peaceful mind. No, right? First thing, you get agitated first, right? So you cannot have peace of mind. So we are following this. There's a reason. It's a holistic process to acquire peace. So I think Western psychology or Western treatment, or secular mindfulness, they don't really emphasize on the morality part because they might think it's too religious and too sensitive. So actually, this is an important aspect. Important aspect. If a person is free from remorse, free from regret, their conscience is clear, then okay, they can be at peace all the time. They're not afraid. So this is very important, the precepts. So the livelihood will be honest livelihood. And the middle portion, you have the effort, mindfulness, and concentration. So effort would mean, earlier on in our meditation, we kind of emphasized on keep on generating right thought. So that means if there is any unwholesome thought, thoughts of greed or anger, you try to overcome them. You try to reduce or overcome them. So there's the first kind of right effort. If there is no unwholesome thought arising, do not let it arise. Do not let it arise. And if, let's say, you do not have wholesome thoughts, thoughts of compassion, thoughts of loving kindness, then you should develop them. And if you already have thoughts of wholesome thoughts, then you should maintain and perfect them. So these are the 4 right efforts. So what is unwholesome thought? Some people think unwholesome thoughts means must be something very evil, thinking of killing and stealing and all those stuff. So if down here, I like to daydream, not unwholesome, I just sit there, do nothing. I never harm anybody. Right? That's considered unwholesome thought also, actually. Because what we are training is our spiritual muscle. Our spiritual muscle to have certain, I won't say control, but certain strength of mind, because the mind so habitually like to run away, anything, anything nice, you just chase after it. Anything unpleasant, you also chase after it. There's clinging. So the mind acts like super glue. You cling to any story, any stronger stimuli, you cling to it. Any unhappy incident, you just cling to it. Even though you don't want it, you still cling to it. So some people say, I have depression, I have a mood swing problem, because the mind do not have this spiritual muscle, do not how to pull back. The mind just run after the drama show, then whole day in that mood. Yeah? So we call this clinging, addiction, clinging to the story, to the past, to the future, whatever it is. So you cling to it, and then you have emotional problem. So all the mental wellness issue or health issue comes from lack of mental strength, mental resilience. The mind just run to the story. Somebody scold me, then you upset. Then you do not know how to stop the story. Then you keep on thinking of the story. The person scold you over and over again, 24/7 scolding you. Then you keep on thinking and thinking and thinking. Then your whole day upset. Yeah? So that is the issue. So we do not know how to pull the mind back. So we call this training the mind. You need to have certain effort. Certain effort. Yeah? So if a person like to daydream, there's no effort involved. The mind just float around, no effort. So the mind very weak, no effort. So we are actually intentionally training the mind, intentionally generating right thought. So this is very important. So if you're sitting down here, listening to me, you also need to generate some right thought. Very simple. Just think of rising and passing, or think of all beings well and happy, something along this line. Anything positive, just keep on repeating. Yeah, so that is part of right effort. Then mindfulness. Right mindfulness according to the Satipatthana Sutta or the Mahasatipatthana Sutta. They mention the term ekayano, the one way or the only way to purify your mind. So mindfulness is so important. Because it's so important, a lot of people emphasize on mindfulness, and sometimes they might try to popularize it and end up not practicing the Buddhist kind of mindfulness. So nowadays we have this secular kind of mindfulness going around. It may be the in thing, very popular among the, corporate setting. So the origins of these mindfulness courses actually come from the Burmese Vipassana traditions. So the Western people, the psychologists, they go and take some of the items and remove all the religious content. So later on, I'll cover the religious content. So what they'll tell you is just be aware. Be aware. Be neutral, just be aware. So somehow it's very neutral. Applicable to all walks of life and society, because anybody can have this cognitive function, just be aware. So it may give you temporary alertness. So in corporate setting, yes, all the employees go attend this mindfulness workshop. And it doesn't reduce craving because what they remove is impermanence, thinking of rising and passing. So the key ingredient in Buddhist mindfulness is to think of impermanence, rising and passing. But because in the secular mindfulness, they don't emphasize rising and passing, then okay lah, you maintain your greed, help your company make more money lah. Yeah, because if everybody is so contented, then maybe the company will lose money. Yeah? So that's why they have this version. So anyway, we talk about Buddhist mindfulness. Whatever you do, mindful of the body, feelings, the mind, and the Dhamma, you need to be mindful of impermanence, rising and passing. So this way you can reduce your craving. Very important. So we talked about the Four Noble Truths earlier, because the cause of our suffering is this greed and anger, always pulling and pushing. So what we're doing is the opposite, total opposite. Right thoughts and this right mindfulness is to counteract this craving. And then concentration, I don't want to spend too much time. You can listen to YouTube. I've given a whole talk on concentration. So I've covered the theory on wisdom. Yeah, basically the Four Noble Truths and the Noble Eightfold Path in theory. So now the main topic, how to get this wisdom. How? So the Buddha actually gave 8 steps. So this is different from the Noble Eightfold Path. So these are 8 things to do to kind of slowly get the Eightfold Path. So step number 1, find the right company. Find the right company. There's a saying, whoever you mix around with, soon you become that character. So if you always mix around with gamblers, the conversation you talk about is gambling all the time. So you become a gambler also. So we call this peer influence, peer pressure. So in this case, you want to grow in wisdom, come to Buddhist fellowship. Okay, that means you need to mix around with more spiritual peers. People along the same line. You want to grow spiritually, want to be a more wholesome person. You need to find this similar group of people. Either a spiritual friend or spiritual mentor. Mentor means teacher. So in the Tibetan tradition, there's this thing called finding a guru. So in Theravada tradition also have finding something like a mentor. We call it acharya. So we have this. So it's more formal in the monastic life, not so formal for a lay person. So for a lay person, you can just go around window shopping, look for different teachers, attend all their talks. But for monastic, let's say or any junior monk, any junior monastic that first ordained, they need to seek dependence on their preceptor or their mentor for the first 5 years, minimum, first 5 years. So they cannot anyhow suka run here, run there. They have to stick to that teacher for at least some time. Yeah, so we said 5 years of dependence. 5 years of dependence. So of course the junior monk has the option to look around and choose who is the suitable teacher to learn from. Because not everyone is as perfect as the Buddha. Yeah, so any Dhamma friend or Dhamma teacher, they have their specialty. Maybe some monk is just specialized, very good in chanting, the pronunciation, wow, very good, the Pali, very good. But in terms of meditation, don't know. Or maybe another monk, their meditation very good, but cannot teach. Yeah, you have all these issues. So you need to find around, sometimes you can find different teachers, learn from different teachers. But the idea is, for monastics, we stick to one teacher, one acharya. Because if we have too many, then we have these too many red Indian chief. too many Red Indian chief. They have a lot of problem. So maybe one teacher will tell you, okay, learn chanting. Then the other teacher comes in, do housework, do cleaning. Then you, how to learn? You do cleaning and do housework. Do which one? Do what? You can't split your body too, right? So different, maybe different times when the monk goes to different monastery, you leave that teacher because you go to a different monastery. Then you look for a different teacher, then that teacher will give you a new instruction. So the monastic process, very formal, at least the one I experienced. We have to prepare a tray, and on the tray need offerings, candle offering, flowers, incense, and then offer to the teacher. And then we need to chant a certain chant. Acharyo me pante hohi ayasmatuni sayang yajami. We have to formally declare, tell the teacher that please acknowledge me as a student. I want to take you as my teacher. There must be a formal contract. It's not like go there, say hi, bye, and see, in my resume, I know this person. No count, not counted. No count. You have to formally request from that person to be your teacher. And then that person must formally reply and acknowledge, okay, I will become your teacher. I will take care of you. Something like along this line. So there is a formal kind of agreement. Not suka-suka, okay, just attend this talk or attend a dana function. Then I know this teacher, I know this teacher, I know this teacher. Anybody can know anybody. But how much do you learn from that teacher? How much do you learn from that teacher? So that's the most important point. So there is like a formal kind of ritual for monastics. But for a lay person, if you want to be close to a teacher, the first step is do some window shopping first. So it's all right to like move around. Then you feel, hey, at this point of time, this particular teaching suit me. I can improve a lot, from this lesson. Then okay, you learn from this teacher. And then if you have time, then you can, we said service, perform service. So for monastics, the junior and senior or the mentor, between the junior monk and the mentor, the junior monk have to take care of the senior monk, the mentor. Sometimes the mentor doesn't have to be biologically older. In Singapore context, a lot of monks ordain after they retire. So you have situations where old monks service to these younger monks. So the idea is to lower the ego. Lower the ego. So for junior monk, last time when I was like serving the mentor, we have to wash their robes, wash their bowl, wash their feet when they come back from the alms round. Do all these kind of things. Do all these kind of chores. Serve them tea, make coffee. Basically be like a servant. So once you do all these chores, then they observe your behavior. Are you easily irritable when you're doing your chores? How's your attitude? If your attitude is not right, then they won't teach you. If you are very sincere, you really perform your task, then they see, hey, this person is very sincere. Then they might share something. So this is the case. So that is important. If you want to learn something deeper, you need to go through this process. That's the traditional way, mentor and student kind of relationship. Mentor-student relationship. But nowadays, people got diploma courses and all those courses, then you just attend. So theoretically, maybe you learn a lot. But in terms of holistic lifestyle, the depth, in terms of like practicing dana and service, practicing humility and all those, maybe not so much in the academic side. Not so much in the academic side. But if you want to talk about the holistic training, maybe if you find a suitable mentor, you try to approach them. Can I serve you tea? Do you require any service? Do you need a ride? That kind of stuff. So then you can offer your transport and all those kind of things. So these are ways you can get closer to like a monastic teacher. So this is the first step only. First step. So after you establish certain closeness, then you can ask deeper question. Deeper question. Ask questions about the Dhamma, about the practice, about meditation. And if they can answer you, good for you. That means you find someone appropriate, somebody suitable for you. But if they cannot help you, you have certain issues, your meditation, or certain doubt in the teaching, then they cannot answer. They cannot give a satisfactory answer. Then you can look for another teacher. So in the Buddha's time, it was very common for the monks to jump from teacher to teacher. Because the Buddha is not always there all the time in the monastery. India is so big, the Buddha have to walk around. Then sometimes the Buddha not around, then the new monks, then you just look for another senior monk. Then the senior monk cannot help them, they go to another senior monk. So they keep on running around. So that was the practice in the Buddha's time. So we always say the birds of the same feathers flock together. So if the student, if the practitioner, their understanding is not towards overcoming craving, they just want to, can you read my fortune? I have this existential issue, how to make more money, how to strike rich. Can you, interpret my dreams or whatever? No, if a person is into those kind of things, then probably the whatever teacher you meet is this kind of teacher. So there's another saying, if a student is ready, the teacher will appear. So if you are spiritually ready, you meet the right person. Or at least you know how to sieve and find that, okay, this is the right person for me. But if a person is not ready, then you won't meet the right teacher. So a lot depends on your right view or your right understanding. And having given a satisfactory answer, then you can, okay, you have a tada, you understand it. Then you might have certain contentment in mind and body. So we call it seclusion in mind and body. It doesn't have to be a quiet room or in a forest. It can be an aha moment. The teacher gives some answer, you get aha moment. Then that is the sign that there's a detachment going on through right reflection. Then there's certain letting go. So the mind has certain contentment, certain peace, and then you continue that direction. Then this one talks about maintenance, how to maintain this peace. So earlier on, we talked about holistic lifestyle, your right speech and right livelihood and everything. So the company you meet, your Buddhist friends or your Dhamma friends, the things you talk about will be your precepts, how to apply your precepts in the workplace, how to handle office politics, how to handle your family according to your precepts. So you talk along these lines. So of course, for monastics, we talk about the Patimokkha. So the layperson, you talk about 5 precepts. The Patimokkha has 200 over precepts. So we have all these kind of rules. Okay. And the idea is try to keep the precepts as pure as possible. So I know Buddhist fellowship is non-sectarian, so I'm going to share very good news to you all. Nowadays, got so many different schools of Buddhism or meditation styles, and each claim their particular syllabus. If you practice their syllabus only, then you can realize the truth, or at least part of the truth, become a stream enterer. Then they don't acknowledge other system. They don't acknowledge this system, they don't acknowledge that system. Very exclusive. So in the suttas, the Mahaparinibbana Sutta, the last days of the Buddha used to do this service. When some disciple die, then some other people will kaypoh and ask the Buddha, hey, do you know where is this person reborn? What have they attained? What have they realized? And the Buddha will entertain those questions. The Buddha will say, oh, this person is an arahant already, or this person is a stream enterer, where are they reborn, which heaven or which human realm they're in. So the Buddha will entertain those questions. But as the Buddha got older, about to about to pass away already, and he said he cannot do this anymore. So in future, you have to rely on this teaching called the mirror of the Dhamma. So basically, your own self check own self. So there are few things to check. First is, do you have unshakable faith in the Buddha? So that's the first one. First criteria, unshakable faith in the Buddha. Second criteria, unshakable faith in the Dhamma. And the third one, a person has unshakable faith in the Sangha. And the fourth one, their precept is pure. They keep the precepts pure. Then confirm, the Buddha said, at least a person, we call this is a faith follower of the Dhamma. Faith follower of the Dhamma. So at the moment of death, confirm, there will be a stream enterer. So we have a path of stream entry and the fruit of stream entry. So if a person haven't realized the truth yet, if they follow the precepts very well, at least we call this the path to stream entry. Path to stream entry. So at the moment of death, confirm stream enterer. So stream enterer in Buddhism is a big deal because we believe we'll still get reborn many, many lifetimes if we still haven't realized the truth. So if you cut that down from close to infinite lifetime to 7 lifetime, it's a big turnover. It's a big discount. So we believe stream enterer, maximum reborn 7 more lifetime. Then you can get liberated. So this is the stream entry. Okay, so this is the precepts part. And number 5, memory plays an important role. So at least in the Buddha's time, there wasn't written teaching. So everything has to be memorized. Whatever the Buddha teach or whatever the senior monks teach, the audience have to remember everything. So last time there's this thing called oral tradition. So whatever they teach, then they go back, they have to chant and repeat again, repeat what they've heard, repeat and repeat like tape recorder to make sure they retain what they've taught. So nowadays, so easy. Just Google and find all the teachings online. You can use YouTube, and nowadays they even live stream this thing. So I'm not encouraging you to purposely forget, but at least please remember some important points so that you can take back and practice. Take back and practice. You don't have to remember word for word everything I say, but at least the key points, what are the essential points to practice. Okay, then of course, if you have your spiritual peers, you can discuss what has been talked about earlier, and then to improve your understanding. So later on, there's Q&A segment. So if you have anything you want to discuss or want me to elaborate further, feel free to ask. Yeah. And then the more you practice, you should abandon unskillful qualities. You need to check whether your greed or anger, is it increasing or decreasing? If it's decreasing, then good for you. That means you're on the right path. If let's say the more you practice, you stay for certain Buddhist or whatever organization for so long, the more proud, more pride you have, more greedy, more selfish, then something is wrong somewhere. Something is wrong, and then you need to troubleshoot yourself. Okay, then number 7. So amongst your spiritual peers, you just talk about the Dhamma related things, how to improve your oneself spiritually, not to talk about anything under the sun. So that's the idea. So that is a bit more advanced stage. So if you are more inclined towards contentment, you feel like not speaking. Only when it's beneficial, then you speak. If not, you enjoy silence because there's certain inner peace already. Enjoy the silence. Anytime you talk, there's suffering. Every time you talk, only you feel, hey, there's suffering. So this is actually experiencing the Four Noble Truth in life. Life experience of the Four Noble Truths, no longer theory already. So this one a bit more advanced. Then eventually, if a person continue to practice detachment and insight, they keep observing arising and passing of the five aggregates. We talked about it earlier: form, feeling, perception, mental formation, consciousness. If they observe impermanence of these five things, then confirm, eventually they'll see the truth. So these are the 8 steps required. So I've ended my sharing. Now we can open the floor to Q&A.
Let's say sadhu 3 times. Yes? Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you, Phra Goh. Anyone has questions? Please raise your hand. I'll bring the mic over to you. One. Anyone? You can just raise your hand here. While we're waiting for if any hands raised, I ask my first question. Bhante, just now you covered the 8 points, right?
Yeah.
May I check how can we refer to the source in the sutta where these 8 points is it one sutta or several suttas or?
Okay, so I can just show you. Yep, down here, Panya Sutta, Anguttara Nikaya 8.2.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anyone has questions? Please raise your hand.
Okay, one here.
Okay.
Thank you, Bhante.
Yep.
Just now when you're talking about when we go through our mindfulness and trying to do the right thing, and we have to think about impermanence and rising and falling. Could you elaborate on that? How does it help us in thinking this way?
Okay, very good point. So all of us have inbuilt defilement. Inbuilt defilement. We believe everything is permanent. I want to live forever. I want to be healthy forever. I want to be young forever. And all those kind of things, all those kind of expectation or inbuilt kind of expectation. So the idea of conditioning ourselves to think of impermanence is to slowly detach, to live with reality. So in reality, everything is changing. So we have to synchronize our perception to this reality. So it requires a lot of repetition, because if you think of impermanence one time, not good enough, because the old habits will just take over. So you need to keep on repeating. Okay.
Anyone?
Thanks, Bhante.
Okay.
Got a question. It's actually a good friend, or rather my wife's good friend. I mean, she's quite a terror at work, apparently. She scolds the staff, but she sleeps like a baby
Okay.
herself. And at least to my mind is that she's a nice person. I think her conscience is clear. That's why she sleeps like a baby. I'm just wondering, so between right speech and kind of like your mindfulness or whatever it is, it's like because her conscience is clear, so the speech is not impediment to her in that regard to finding peace. And secondly is that, of course, when she scolds people, she's at ease, but she downloads the stress to the people being scolded. So how should a person like that improve? I mean, what's the effect if you continue like that? You scold people, you're okay, but the stress you're downloading onto others, how would that impact you personally?
Yeah, it does affect the, we say, the spiritual muscle. So it's basically growing the wrong way. So the peace is not the peace we're looking for. Anybody that has maybe exhaustion after a long day also can have peaceful sleep. So we are not aiming after this normal kind of peace, but rather the inner contentment. Yeah, so if a person is just like scolding and pushing the stress to others, there is a effect because you're not practicing restraint. So there's no building of inner strength. It's more on just pushing and pushing. So it affects the spiritual muscle. So it's good to practice certain kindfulness, kind speech, important. Okay.
Anyone?
Thank you, Bante. So the last part is to see the rising and passing away of the aggregates, right? So is it supposed to be like contemplated, like, oh, because I saw the words such is form, such is the arising, such is the passing away, or are you supposed to see in real time? Because I think some practices you try to see the feeling arise in real time, but from the words it looks like a bit of contemplation also. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so ideally, whatever you observe, you need to mentally recite or note rising and passing. Yeah, so if a person is sharp enough to differentiate the 5 aggregates, then they can contemplate one by one. Yeah, but if you cannot, never mind. Just whatever you observe, like the changes in the elements or changes in the parts of the body, visualize. You just think of rising and passing. Okay, no problem. Okay, one over there.
Yeah, thank you, Phra Goh. I think my question was a little bit related to his.
Okay.
During meditation, how do we contemplate about the 5 aggregates when we are trying to breathe in, breathe out, think of nothing, think of just being still, like what Ajahn Brahm said, don't hold the water, put the water down, the cup, just letting go. So when you breathe in, the 5 aggregates, how do you systematically, if there is a word, break it down into form, and then after that, feeling, perception, mental formation, of course, consciousness is there.
Yeah, okay. So actually our 5 aggregates, they are 5 in 1. They are there. Wherever your attention lands, all 5 aggregates are there. For example, if let's say you look at the screen, your attention, we call this consciousness, eye consciousness. So that's the 5th aggregate. So the screen itself, does it has form? Does it have the hardness, softness, earth, fire, wind, water element?
Sorry, my question is in particular to when we are meditating.
Yeah,
only
yeah.
Focusing on the
Correct.
breath.
Yeah, okay. So, let's say we feel the breath. We are using the body door consciousness, agree? We are feeling the nervous system, touching on the air, the wind to the nervous system, to the skin. So that is the 5th aggregate, body consciousness. So the air itself, the wind, does it have elements? The wind element. Yeah, wind element, right? So that's the air element. And does the breath has temperature? Have, right? Hot and cold. So that's the heat element. So the 4 elements are part of the form aggregate. Form aggregate. So when you breathe in, breathe out at time, is there pleasant and unpleasant sensations? Comfortable, uncomfortable? Neutral. Okay, so neutral also considered. So pleasant, unpleasant, neutral feelings, part of the feeling aggregate. Feeling aggregate. Then the 3rd aggregate is perception. Perception means whatever past experiences you had, you try to give a label to it. So you call it a long breath, a short breath. So all these are perception. Yeah. And the 4th aggregate is every time you generate a thought, that's a mental formation. So there are 5 in 1, all there.
It's the mental formation that I'm trying to think what it is.
Okay. One example. Okay, right now, if you're feeling the breath, that is, you're using your body consciousness. But if you want to see how this volition or this mental formation is formed, We can do a finger pointing experiment. Everybody can do. Now you point to where you are placing your attention now. So let's say if you feel the breath and you feel put here. Is your attention at the breath all the time? No, right? If you jump around, that's a formation. So every moment you jump, let's say to my voice, to someone else, to the seat. So that is formation. Every time volition, volition, formation, formation. Okay? Or anytime you deliberately generate one thought, that is a mental formation. Unintentionally, these things appear. That is also a formation. Okay? Yeah, so we have to see the impermanence of these 5 aggregates. If you cannot break down the 5, never mind, because wherever your attention lands, all 5 aggregate is there. So the meditation we did earlier, we think of the impermanence of the hair. We are not training the hair. It's the learning to see this hair is actually also made of the 5 aggregates. So as long as we think of impermanence, the 5 aggregates will slowly detach. Okay, all right.
Thank you very much, Bhante. So in essence of time, let's wrap up with